I would say download the app, give it a go. I mean, it's a very helpful tool to go through in this process, which can be complicated and time consuming. There's nothing to lose, just try it.
On a regular basis and see how things are going, whether what we've done is useful or not. So just wanted to sort of say, let's have an open chat, and we can whatever edit things or remove things and just be as open as you like, and whatever about anything, the whole process, the app, anything. So probably just kick started. Do you want to tell us the quick story of your upbringing or family, why you potentially were interested in Croatian citizenship, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks very much, Nick, for this opportunity to sit down and have a chat about this process and all your help with me going through the process of citizenship. So for a bit of background, my parents migrated here to Australia from Herzegovina. So dad's from a place called Grude and mum is from a little place called Posuše. Myself and my brother were both raised deeply in the Croatian culture and language here in Sydney. So it was always very important for my parents to pass that culture on to us. We grew up speaking Croatian before we even knew English. So I started school in kindergarten. I didn't even know English.
Yeah, same actually. Yeah.
So that's how we were raised. I attended Sydney Croatia soccer games like a lot of us in the community. All my sacraments I received from Sveti Ante, St. Anthony's in Solihull. So from as far back as I can remember, I've been deeply immersed in the culture, in the language, and I thank my parents for that.
Yeah, and then is that something, that sort of culture and stuff you've got a family now? Are you sort of putting making sure that you sort of hand down the good things in your family as well?
So I'm now a husband and a father, yes, of a very young boy. So it is now my job to pass that on to my child and hopefully future children. So I am speaking more or less exclusively Croatian with my son.
Yep.
My wife, more English, but so we're hoping he's also going to be bilingual, and we're going to be very also serious about this, passing on the culture, the language, the heritage, our faith to him. And so we don't want that to be lost. We're very far from Croatia, from the homeland, but where we are, there is a little bit of a Croatian community around us, so there's a bit of a support network, and we think it's really, really important for the next generation also to receive what we received.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, that's great. So I guess probably then going, flash forward, you've grown up, you've got the whole community and everything. Did you ever sort of think about potentially becoming a citizen of Croatia? And I guess what was your sort of motivation for finally saying, I'll do it,
Yeah, so over the years, as I was saying, raised in that culture and very much feeling like I am Croatian, born in Australia, so sort of like an Australian-born Croatian growing up. Culturally a little bit different to a lot of school friends and later on the university people I work with. You're always a little bit different. You've got that, the background and the culture, the heritage. Unfortunately, I never had citizenship, so that's something for whatever reason. I'm sure my parents had many other concerns, moving to a new country, learning a new language, finding work. Maybe it's just not something that they thought about, but only really in recent times, when I've been hearing stories about others going through this process, or even friends of mine moving from here back over to Croatia, doing the reverse of what their parents did. That really started getting me thinking, there's something to that. It's not just it's not a piece of paper, it's something really valuable and special to have, that to make that official, being a citizen. That just obviously strengthens the connection, and it definitely, practically speaking, would open a lot of doors for myself, for my children in the future. So I was really keen to get into the process, and that's where things like your app comes in to help, and people like yourself and others around me as a support network going through that process.
Yeah, cool. So just on the, so we'll probably maybe touch on like other people who are going back, you know, and sort of working out, like essentially doing the reverse of what their parents did. Do you think, like, you know, is that something you'd think of doing, or is there, you know, have you got any more ideas about what, you know, why that's happening, or any sort of the motivation? Like, can you sort of, I don't know, sort of what, you know, walk us through the thought process, or what you can kind of, what you've sort of gained from everyone doing that?
Yeah, it's very interesting because, as you say, it's the opposite of what our parents did. They came over here on the other side of the world for a better life, and now people like us, people our age, a little bit older, a little bit younger, some of them we know, they're doing the reverse. So there's got to be something to that. Something is drawing them, pulling them to go to the homeland, as we call it, the Domovina. Much of them, I'm sure, are like us, being raised in the culture, and here we sort of hang around with a lot of Croatian friends, and we go to the club and the soccer and churches, and you feel like, in a way, you're in a little bit in a small Croatia here. But people going back now, I mean, I guess the world's opened up a little bit in the sense of Croatia having some opportunities with work and people having those skills to be able to transfer from here to over there. And I think maybe they probably want to have that foundation of that culture, the language, to pass on to their own children. Obviously that's a lot easier to do over there than here, when you're actually living in the country and you get to breathe the air and see the more there, the beautiful beaches, and I'm sure everyone has, like myself, like you, a lot of family over there who stayed, who didn't migrate. So probably there are various factors, family, the family pool to go back and to reconnect with all the relatives, and obviously it's just a beautiful country. It's one of the top tourist destinations in the world for a reason. People who are not Croatian recognize that, and that's why it's always so busy there over the summer. I guess people just, once the opportunity opens up for them with work or other opportunities for business, once you can tick that box and say, okay, I'm going to be able to have a little bit of an income over there and provide for my family, everything else sort of falls into place, because it's such a beautiful place. There's many others who have done the same, and so there's a little bit of a network over there now, which makes it easier for new people to try to go over and give it a go, make a life there. I'm sure everyone has their own reasons, but I'm just imagining, you know, the pull of that, the dream, you know, it's always like a back of our mind, the dream to go and live there, but now it's possible. The dream's a reality for a lot of people. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot there to just touch on. It's some of the stuff. There's definitely, I myself feel there's a pool there when you go there, when you're sort of there, as you said, breathe the air, whatever, go in the ocean. I've heard like a similar thing from Aboriginal people is when they're sort of, you know, in the outback or whatever, they feel the way they sort of describe that pool. So there's definitely something there. And I think, yeah, from what I've noticed, there's a lot of people moving back for sport opportunities, obviously. You know, if you can get a decent football career in Europe, in the heart of it, with, you know, one of the sort of best development leagues for young players is a factor as well. And yeah, once you're in the EU, right, you can sort of live and work anywhere in the EU. So if you wanted to, you know, work somewhere in France or Germany or wherever, I guess that kind of pathway opens to you, you know, pretty easily.
Definitely. Weekend trips to other countries just is a normal thing over there. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a very different sort of. So I don't know where people will be watching this from, but it's a very different sort of, you know, Australia or the US. You know, you can fly for ages and still be in the same spot, but yeah, you'll see like very different cultures in a way that we don't sort of see in our day-to-day life. All right. Anyway, I guess moving on. So I guess how was, you know, the overall process for you from sort of applying for citizenship and doing all of that stuff? Do you want to? So what was your experience thinking? You know, you've grown up in, I guess, Sydney your whole life mostly, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess what was the difference between turning up to Service New South Wales for doing some admin stuff versus for going through the whole process? Is it, you know?
I guess, yeah, there's a bit of a process to applying for citizenship, obviously. People realise that. So it's a lot of things like boring things you have to do to get out of the way. You have to gather documents, you know, all your identification documents, and get certified copies of those, and then get them with an apostille seal. You need a police clearance, police check, which has to be within a certain time frame, within 3 or 6 months, I think. So there's a little bit of running around and some fees involved, but all through this time, you know, you've got the end goal in mind. You realise, look, this is something that I have to do. There's no other way around it. I don't live over there, and I can't do that locally, the process locally in Croatia. So you just have to make the best of the situation. And some of the things can be sometimes frustrating or with some delays, but you just realise, look, this is all part of the process, and the end goal, it's going to be well worth it once you have that document in your hands and you're a citizen of Croatia. So I went through the process, and ultimately the last step is going into the Croatian consulate, in my case here in Sydney, presenting all the documents and filling out an application form, which they can help you with. So there is a process. There are things you need to do, and it takes a bit of time, but that's just how it is. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess there's probably, for people watching, right, you have your sort of list of things you need to do and documents you need, but I guess a lot with, you know, consular offices and things, there's a lot of, I guess, I'll say probably, you know, there's a step in a lot of the process where it's like, you know, whoever the consular representative is, it's pretty much a case of, you know, smart person makes decisions. So, you know, things might vary from place to place, and it's pretty much the same with other countries. As you know, we're sort of working on doing the same thing for other countries now, and you know, so far from what we've heard from talking to businesses who do this day in, day out, it's pretty much the same situation for Poland, Italy, etc. So that's just the nature of, I guess, this, you know, I guess diplomatic activities, I would say, I would call it. All right, great stuff. So I guess, did you have any sort of, touching on that process is usually different to what you sort of used to growing up. Did you have any sort of, you know, speed humps or any challenges or anything that was, you know, like a little, you know, a little tidbit you can probably give anyone listening or watching on the overall process, and, you know, what to do, or any tips? Yeah,
so look, the process is, overall, it's really quite simple if you break it down step by step of exactly which documents you need, and you make appointments to get them sealed and these sorts of things. But I guess for myself, I had one little experience where I had everything organised and ready, and then I got to the day of my appointment with the consulate. So you have to book that in advance, obviously. There's a bit of a waiting period. So here in Sydney, I went to the Croatian consulate with all my documents, translated, certified. I had a little biography written up, just to be written up in Croatian, just about yourself and your history, your parents, and why you're looking for Croatian citizenship. So with me, I sat down with the representative at the consulate, and as I was giving him my documents, one of the first things he asked me was, "Where's your birth certificate?" And I said, "Here it is. I've got it here, like with all my other documents. It's certified, translated, apostille seal on it." So as far as I understood, everything was above board, everything was correct. He told me that the consulate actually requires your original birth certificate, not a copy. So that's something I wasn't aware of, and it really caught me by surprise. He seemed to think that was just a normal, well-known fact, public knowledge, that the birth certificate is the original we give to them, and they send off to Croatia, and you never get it back. So when I asked him, I questioned him about this process, he said, "Yes, I'm sorry, it comes to us, and we send it off, and you don't actually get it back. You need to reapply for a birth certificate from," in my case here, the New South Wales Registry, births, deaths and marriages. So I had no idea about that. Thankfully, we worked through that, and so he just accepted the document that I had, and he said, in more or less, you know, he said it should be fine. So because I had everything else checked off, everything was correct, had my biography and the application form itself, which I didn't have prior, which he asked me about, and I said, "No, I don't have it," and he got paperwork out for me. It's quite a lengthy document. There's probably 15 pages or so to fill out, and it's all in Croatian, and he assisted me through that. So If your Croatian is not 100% or you have some trouble maybe reading or comprehending certain information, they do help you. But that was for me the one obstacle and challenge, just the birth certificate requirement of being an original. I really didn't know that, and it caught me by surprise.
Yeah, that's a good pickup and something we probably, should specify better in the app as well. I had a similar situation where my mum laminated all of my birth certificate, or laminated my birth certificate, and that's obviously not, you can't, it's not an official document anymore, so I had to go through the whole process of getting another one and all of that stuff as well. Okay, great. So do you feel like, I guess probably switching more about the app and the stuff we're doing, do you feel like that the app is going a long way to sort of, to helping people work out those requirements? Because from what I'm getting from your kind of part of the story, and I guess my own experience, which was the genesis for creating the app and talking to other people, I guess the requirements are sort of, bringing it back to Service New South Wales. You go on a website, if you're getting a driver's license or a form for this or that, everything is pretty much specified exactly what you need, or any kind of variation. And I think that's probably something we've just been used to, just I guess really efficient public service here. So do you feel like the app is sort of helping bridge that gap and maybe save some time and research for people? Or
yeah, that's a really good point. So here, Sydney, New South Wales, like you said, we have Service New South Wales, which is a government service, and everything is very clear, very streamlined. You know what you need to do, all the requirements. With the Croatian system, maybe there's a little bit more bureaucracy involved, a little bit of confusion and mixed messaging depending on who you're speaking to. So that can be a challenge faced by people in this process if you're trying to do it alone. The good thing about the app and using the app for the process is it makes things so much more simple and clear. This is exactly what you need to do. Follow these steps. These are the documents that you need. You can be networked with or pointed in the right direction of certified translators for the documents. It just streamlines the process. It makes it feel a little bit more like you're dealing with, like a government department here, Service New South Wales, rather than sometimes with the Croatian consulate, I don't know, sometimes they don't answer the phone, or someone's having a bad day, or someone tells you one thing, the next person tells you something else. I'm not sure how quickly they reply to emails. I know they're quite busy, so it's a good way to just avoid any of those issues and headaches, and just have something very clear right in front of you of what you need to do, how to obtain those things, those documents, and it just makes the process much less painful, I think.
Yeah, great. And we'll just probably, want to let people know we're not affiliated with Service New South Wales in any way.
We just live here, so that's the system that we use. So we have to use that example.
Okay. All right, that's really good. So I guess do you have any sort of tips for people who are going to start, today after watching this or listening to, getting their citizenship, or do you have any little tidbits you can kind of share, or advice you would give to someone who's starting, today?
Yeah. Main thing I would say is just give it a go. Just try. Like, I was really hesitant for a long time. I thought about this probably for a few years, really, before I dove into the process and really made a serious effort and just decided in my head, I have to do this, not just for me, but for my family, for my wife, for my son and any future children. Like, I want them to have these opportunities later in life that I maybe didn't have. Just give it a go. Like, there's nothing to lose. If you're eligible, parents from Croatia are born there, you've got the right to apply for citizenship. I'll just say the process might seem intimidating or long. Even myself now, I have to wait about 12 months that they tell me. But what's 12 months in your whole lifespan? It's not very long for something so important and so beautiful to have. I would say download the app, give it a go. I mean, it's a very helpful tool to go through in this process, which can be complicated and time consuming. There's nothing to lose. Just try it and see how you go.
Yeah, great advice. So it's just start is the key message. And then I guess, once you've sort of applied, it's you don't really have to do much. I'm just going to ask you, have you tried using the feature where we remind the consulate on your behalf? You can sort of, I guess you can just, for anyone listening, you can kind of enroll, you can select what date you applied, which consulate you applied, and then, you know, on certain milestones like, you know, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, if it gets that long, we'll send, you know, notifications on your behalf to all the departments. So hopefully there's one less life admin task for anyone has to do, as we've all got a lot going on, I'm sure.
That's a very useful tool. So my application is still fairly recent, so I think maybe at the 3-month mark, the first notification might be sent through to the consulate. But that's it's really good and helpful because you don't have to worry about following up yourself, calling them, emailing them telling you, you know, sorry, we don't know, we're waiting. Maybe your application is on the bottom of the pile somewhere underneath all this other paperwork. With the app, it's an automated process, and so on your behalf, the consulate will be contacted at certain points. I think you can select the time frames, and so it just does the follow-up for you. You know, you're busy with your own life and different things. I have a family, I have work. I don't want to be worrying about this stuff, thinking about this. You know, I can just forget about it. I've done the application, and now through that feature in the app, the consulate will be reminded that I've made my application on this day at this place, and that I'm waiting for an outcome. And so hopefully, that just gives them a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a tap on the shoulder that might speed up the process for me.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I guess thanks, Robbie, for all your time today, being really generous, sitting down, you know, recording this. It's, you know, not something you sort of do every day. I guess any sort of last final thoughts on anything, you know, it can be on the app, it can be on the process, any, you know, parting messages for the world, anything you want to say?
Guys, if you're like me and you've got Croatian blood in you, and you love the culture, the language, the Catholic faith, everything that's related to our beautiful homeland of Croatia. Your parents have come from there, and to this day they still speak so highly of the country, you know. And if circumstances were different, maybe they would have stayed and not come over. You know, the history is what it is. Things were happening, and people look for a better life. But it's just so important to maintain that connection, to never forget where we come from, where our families come from, our many ancestors going back centuries, and they worked hard and sometimes sacrificed a lot to preserve and to pass on our Croatian culture and language, sometimes under very difficult circumstances with, you know, other government forces at work to suppress the language and the culture. I think we owe it to them, you know, we owe it to them to at least make an effort in our own lives here, in my case here in Sydney, to preserve that. And one of the best ways you can do that is to apply for citizenship. Why not? I mean, there's nothing to lose. It's not that difficult with a bit of help in this process that we've been discussing, and the rewards are just amazing. You can one day, you know, your children will thank you for that. I'm sure when my son's older and he sees the opportunities that he has that I didn't have, he's going to say, thanks, Dad, you know, Vala Tata, you know, something that I can give to him with just a little bit of time and effort on my part, for a short period of time, and then one day I see those rewards, the fruits of that effort. I think it's worth it. You're going to be so happy, so proud of yourself one day if you just give it a go and get that citizenship, that document, and then you can officially say you're Croatian. You're not just, you know, Australian or Aussie Crows. We're Croatian, and we have the right to claim that title for ourselves, I think.
There you go. Do it for your family, everyone. Thanks, Robbie. You've been really generous with your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure, Nick.